of Mice and Men. Chapter 3, Part 5. George sighed. "You give me a good whorehouse every time," he said. A guy can go in and get drunk and get everything out of his system all at once and no messes. And he knows how much it's going to set him back. These here jailbaits is just set on a trigger of the hoosgow. Lenny followed his words admiringly and moved his lips a little to keep up. George continued. "You remember Andy Cushman, Lenny? Went to grammar school." "The one that his old lady used to make hot cakes for the kids?" Lenny asked. "Yeah, that's the one. You can remember anything if there's anything to eat in it." George looked carefully at the solitaire hand. He put an ace up on his scoring rack and piled a 2, 3, and 4 of diamonds on it. "Andy's in San Quentin right now on account of a tart," said George. Lenny drummed on the table with his fingers. "George?" "Huh?" "George, how long's it gonna be till we get that little place and live on the fat of the land? And rabbits?" "I don't know," said George. "We gotta get a big steak together. I know a little place we can get cheap, but they ain't giving it away." Old Candy turned slowly over. His eyes were wide open. He watched George carefully. Lenny said, "Tell about that place, George." "I just told you just last night." "Go on, tell again, George." "Well, it's 10 acres, said George. Got a little windmill. Got a little shack on it and a chicken run. Got a kitchen, orchard, cherries, apples, peaches, cots, nuts, and a few berries. They's a place for alfalfa and plenty water to flood it. And they's a pig pen. And rabbits, George. no place for rabbits now, but I could easy build a few hutches and you could feed alfalfa to the rabbits. Darn right I could, said Lenny. You darn right I could. George's hand stopped working with the cards. His voice was growing warmer. And we could have a few pigs. I could build a smokehouse like the one Grandpa had. And when we kill a pig, we can smoke the bacon and the hams and make sausage and all like that. And when the salmon run upriver, we could catch 100 of them and salt them down or smoke them. We could have them for breakfast. They ain't nothing so nice as smoked salmon. When the fruit come in, we could can it. And tomatoes, they're easy to can. Every Sunday we could kill a rabbit or a chicken. Maybe we'd have a cow or a goat. And the cream is so darn thick you gotta cut it with a knife and take it out with a spoon. Lenny watched him with wide eyes, and old Candy watched him too. Lenny said softly, "We could live off of the fat of the land." "Sure," said George. "All kinds of vegetables in the garden." "And if we want a little whiskey, we can sell a few eggs or something, or some milk." We just live there. We belong there. There wouldn't be no more running around the country and getting fed by a Jap cook. No, sir, we'd have our own place where we belonged and not sleep in no bunkhouse. "Tell about the house, George," Lenny begged. "Sure, we'd have a little house and a room to ourselves. Little fat iron stove, and in the winter we'd keep a fire going in it. It ain't enough land, so we'd have to work too hard, maybe 6-7 hours a day. We wouldn't wouldn't have to buck no barley 11 hours a day. And when we put in a crop, why we'd be there to take the crop up. We'd know what come of our planting. And rabbits, Lenny said eagerly. And I'd take care of them. Tell how I'd do that, George. Sure, you'd go out in the alfalfa patch and you'd have a sack. You fill up the sack and bring it in and put it in the rabbit cages. They'd nibble and they'd nibble, said Lenny, the way they do. I've seen them. Every 6 weeks or so, George continued, them does would throw a litter, so we'd have plenty rabbits to eat and to sell. And we'd keep a few pigeons to go flying around the windmill like they done when I was a kid. He looked raptly at the wall over Lenny's head. And it'd be our own, and nobody could can us. If we don't like a guy, we can say, get the heck out, and by goodness, he's got to do it. And if a friend come along, why, we'd have an extra bunk and we'd say, why don't you spend the night? And by goodness, he would. We'd have a setter dog and a couple striped cats. But you gotta watch out them cats don't get the little rabbits. Lenny breathed hard. You just let 'em try to get the rabbits. I'll break their darn necks. I'll smash 'em with a stick. He subsided, grumbling to himself, threatening the future cats which might dare to disturb the future rabbits.